started on the stream. Haha. How you doing here on YouTube, everyone? My one viewer, which is my father. But here's what it is. But yeah, back to what I was talking about. The main attraction of what is going on so far here in March, which is March Madness. Obviously, everybody loves the NCAA tournament. Sadly, I'm kind of broke, so I can't be betting on it, which I'd love to do. But everybody does love March Madness nonetheless. It's so exciting. All the Cinderella stories, the whole one and done thing, just brings in so many viewers. It's so much fun to watch. And so far, this tournament has not been the best. It hasn't been the absolute, it hasn't been the best tournament. As I just pull up the bracket in front of me here so I have it. But, yeah, it really hasn't been the best tournament. A couple of these games, especially this second round, wasn't very fun. A lot of blowouts, but you do have some fun stories. You have this NC State team, which is a very fun story with, his name is DJ, oh no. Why are ads playing? I don't want ads to be playing. I want to be watching stuff. But you have, I'm just trying to get the dude's first name on NC State, and I can't find it. They're just not showing it to me. DJ Burns. There we go. Yeah, you got DJ Burns, who's a lot of fun. That dude, I was saying this to my roommate while I was watching the Oakland game with him, because I didn't watch the first NC State game, but watching that Oakland game with him was a lot of fun watching that Oakland game with that dude, I said it, this dude is 6'7", 275. Why is he not, or 6'9", 275? Why is the head football coach at NC State not calling that man up? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to play football. I just have a football brain. That's what I think. But nonetheless, that dude looks like a 3 tech out there at center, and he's balling right now. We had that fun story with Oakland upsetting Kentucky with Golke, who, if anybody saw that man's shot chart, that man in the regular season shot 248 3-point attempts and only 8 2-point attempts. It was absolutely insane. But shout out Golke for making making a name for himself in the first round there. Same thing with, I believe the dude's name was Trey Thompson. I just had it up and I just lost. Trey Townsend, sorry. He also balled out for Oakland. His dad was a photographer for the team. That was really cool. But, yeah, March it started off a lot, very fun. We had that Florida buzzer beater early, but they ended up getting smacked in the second round as well by, who was it? I can't even find it. This thing's just moving too fast when I look. But yeah, they ended up losing in the first round to, or Colorado. I'm thinking the Colorado. Where's the game? I can't find the game on the bracket. Is why I seem stupid right now, guys. But that's what they played. They played Colorado. They went off that nice buzzer beater, and then I can't find who they played in the second round for some reason. Or no, they lost off that buzzer beater. Sorry, the Florida team. But yeah, that Colorado game is what I was thinking of. But then, yeah, Colorado got beat by 6. That Marquette Colorado game wasn't that interesting. Purdue dropped 106 in the second round. Absolutely smacked Utah State. Gonzaga embarrassed a Kansas team that barely got out of the game against Samford. So, that was expected. I don't know. We're left with the Sweet 16. UConn's really good, man. UConn is really good. It's hard to see a team that's going to beat UConn. They held Northwestern to 18 points in the first half. In the first round, they held Stetson to, I think it was 14 points in the first half. Yeah, they let up in the second half, but still, I don't know. Maybe San Diego State's the only team I'm giving a chance. And the only reason, I said this to my roommate too, the only reason I'm giving them a chance is because they played last year in the tournament. Like it's a rematch of the national championship game last year, so with some emotion behind it, I could see like now that the San Diego State coach has something to latch on to, something to poke at this week in practice as they're getting ready for UConn, being like, you really want to lose to them twice? We could show that last year was a fluke and we should have won the national championship last year. So you got a little chip to poke on as a coach there. So I think that game should be interesting. Iowa State, Illinois should be fun. Like the Sweet 16 is set up to be fun, but so were some of these games in the second round, and they just weren't, man. They really just weren't. You got Clemson that just upset Baylor. Maybe they could beat Arizona, but Arizona's really good. Tennessee Creighton should be fun. Purdue Gonzaga, that one's interesting. I think North Carolina is going to smack Alabama personally, but you never know. It's March. One of these teams is bound to make a run. NC State's still alive after that ridiculous. They won. They were the 10th seed in the ACC bracket. This North Carolina State team that I was talking about earlier, and they just absolutely have been mowing over people. Good win against Texas Tech, and that Oakland game went into overtime. That was a lot of fun to watch, though. There was also that Texas Tech Houston game, right? Was Texas Tech played Houston? Or Texas A&M, I apologize. Texas Tech, I was just talking about with NC State. Texas A&M, I apologize. That game was fun, too, even though Houston pulled out of it with, like, one starter not fouling out. That game was a lot of fun to watch. Where you got... And A&M should not have been able to come back in that game. And what a ridiculous shot that kid made. I can't remember his name. But what a ridiculous buzzer beater to force overtime. So those two games were fun. And both of them are right now are in the South region. So maybe that South region stays fun. You got Marquette, NC State. You got Duke, Houston. So I don't know. A lot of potential for fun games. Hopefully it's better than the second round. That second round was not fun. I don't know how everyone's bracket's doing. I had Auburn winning it all, so that went down the drain real fast, real fast. That didn't really help, but nonetheless, who else did I pick for my Final Four? I picked Auburn, North Carolina. I think Tennessee. And then, what was the other team I picked? Was it Duke? I think I might have Duke in my final. I think it might be Tennessee-Duke. And then I had Tennessee versus Auburn in the national championship. If I remember my bracket. I haven't looked at it in a couple days. But yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun here in March. A lot of fun. Not as many upsets. Underdogs prevailed in the first round. A lot of, you know what I mean? Duquesne, Grand Canyon, Oakland, obviously, everyone talked about Oakland. You had a lot of underdogs winning that first round. NC State, Colorado, James Madison, Texas A&M was an underdog. There was someone else who was in 9 that was an underdog that won. Michigan State was not. I don't think they were the underdog that I'm thinking of going into that game. Oh, it was Utah State was an underdog against TCU. They won. Oregon over South Carolina. So, in the first round, a lot of dogs won. It got really excited. That second round, all those dogs got shut down, except for really NC State. And it was kind of disappointing, except for, I really like that DJ Burns kid, though. He's a lot of fun. DJ Burns is a lot of fun. Obviously, in UConn, you got all those studs led by Dan Hurley. That team's just loaded. The team is just loaded. I don't know. I don't know that much about college basketball. I know a little bit, obviously, because I go here to St. John's, so I know a little bit about the Big East. I'm not good with college basketball players' names. I'm not even good with college players' names until it gets to this point of year where we're in draft season. which we will talk about in a little bit as I pull up the latest mock drafts, because I was looking at them yesterday, and there's just one thing I like. I don't know. We'll get into football in a little bit though, as ESPN tries to shove a video down my throat. It's gonna make everything lag and make it harder to look. But yeah, March has not been very fun. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. There's just not a lot. UFC, there's not been a lot going on. I know, obviously, I like talking about that. If you guys did tune into the fight night the other day, it was actually really entertaining, that Rose fight. A big win for Rose in that division, going up to flyweight now from, I believe it's bantamweight, if I remember correctly, or strawweight. But a huge, huge win for Rose. It was the only fight I was able to tune into. I was watching a lot of the games. So I ended up turning off the Justin Tafa fight. But the Rose fight was very entertaining. A good performance for Rose. She looked very comfortable in there at a higher weight class. Beating someone like Amanda Ribas is big. Someone in the top 10. She's trying to get that flyweight championship. You heard her coming out too. If you did watch the event, she did her whole "I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best" as she walked out, which was her mantra when she went on that title run to win the strawweight belt. So, a successful fight night, a fun fight night, I think it was UFC Vegas 48 was technically the name of it, but was very entertaining if you had UFC, or if you had ESPN Plus to tune into. I know the games were going on at the same time. The Rose fight obviously was the only one after all of those March Madness first round games. So it was hard to tune into both at the same time, but nonetheless, an impressive performance out of Rose. UFC 300, still not for a couple weeks here. You know, we got, what is it? That's this weekend. We got Aaron Blanchfield and Vincent Luque fighting on a UFC on ESPN. Weidman's on that card too. So another sneaky card around this time of year. Where the top 3 fights were definitely fun. I know March Madness will obviously also be going on this Saturday, so it'll be hard to tune in with this one. But looking at it, yeah, just Chris Weidman, Bruno Silva. That should just be a fun fight. Weidman, obviously, I think this is his second, maybe third fight since that injury that everyone remembers 2-3 years ago. Bruno Silva, he's a brawler. He likes to fight, so this one should be fun. I mean, Bruno Silva can wrestle, too, so I don't know. He might just take Chris Weidman down. That one is interesting. Luque versus Joaquin Buckley should be fun. Joaquin Buckley, if I remember correctly, Joaquin Buckley is that dude that, if you guys have ever seen that viral video of the dude who gets his kick caught, and then he does the spin kick to get the knockout. If I remember correctly, the dude who threw that kick is Joaquin Buckley. So, a very exciting fighter, someone who could throw a lot of unexpected strikes. Fighting a vet like Vincent Luque should be fun. And then Aaron Blanchfield against Manon Fiorot. Those two women should really brawl. I mean, Fiorot at 11-1. She's 34 though. How is she only 11-1? How many amateur fights does she have? I should look into that. I didn't realize that. That's crazy. 11-1 at 34 is insane. Like, Blanchfield has more professional fights, 10 years younger. But that one, it should be a fun fight. Aaron Blanchfield's been a beast in the UFC. Just submissions, a lot of submissions for her. She's been doing very, very well. Even the week after that, we have another fight night, which is Chris Curtis and Brendan Allen. This one's extremely weak. But that is a week out of... See, this was supposed to have Vettori on it, which would have been nice. Vettori Brandon Allen would have been so much better than Chris Curtis Brandon Allen. But that's a week before 300 anyway. 300 is April 13th for everybody wondering, where we obviously just, from top to bottom, this is one of the best cards just ever. You got your main event, obviously. You got Alex Jamal. You got Wei Li versus Yan Shohan. You got Gaethje versus Holloway for the BMF belt. You got Charles Oliveira finally getting back in the octagon, fighting Arman. Bo Nichols on this main card. And then the prelims. You got Yuri Prohaska, who literally is coming off a title fight. He's fighting in the prelims, fighting Alexander Rakic. Rakic? I don't know. You got Aljo on the prelims. Aljo's fighting Calvin Kattar, and Aljo's going up to fight Calvin Kattar. He's on the prelims. Two former champions on the prelims is insane. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison in her debut, coming over from PFL, should be fun. You know, Holly Holm, famous for the kick heard around the world. You got Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. That should be fun. Jalen Turner's on the early prelims. Jessica Andrade's on the early prelims. Davison Figueiredo's to start the, oh my God, they stacked 300 out. It's out of this world. I just said having a former champion, two former champions on the prelims is insane. Having a former champion on the early prelims, on the free fights, too, actually. Because Andrade is also a former champion. You got two former champions on the early prelims with Davison Figueiredo fighting Cody Garbrandt. Figueiredo's going up to bantamweight, which should be extremely fun. Bobby Green versus the timeless Jim Miller. What are the combined age of these two? 37 for Bobby Green and 40 for Jim Miller. An absolute timeless brawl from these two happening. So that should be fun. Jessica Andrade, like I said, versus Marina Rodriguez. Andrade is always a draw. Who doesn't love to watch her? You have Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. That one should be fun. Just absolutely stacked this 300 card. That, like I said, is April 13th. I cannot wait. I believe it is in Vegas, if I'm not wrong. Let me double check here, because 299 was in Miami. I believe 300 is at T-Mobile. Yeah, T-Mobile. Yeah, so it is in Vegas. It is in Vegas. That one is an absolute blast. I can't wait, man. I cannot wait for 300. I'll talk about it in depth as we get closer to it. Obviously, I don't want to, drill it down your guys' ear for, what is that, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks? I will say that probably every week on this show for the next little bit is just how absolutely hyped I am and how stacked that card's going to be. Before I get into football, I want to bring this up. Both of these situations, because I'm not a betting show, but I have talked about betting before on this show. With sports betting becoming as easily accessible as it is, I think it's absolutely insane to say that we wouldn't have hit a point where we're at now, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we now have these two situations, two drastically different situations in both baseball and basketball, with what is going on both involving sports betting. In the NBA right now, you have Jonte Porter, who an article came out about last night. Reports started to come out about last night by it was a Woj bomb. I think he tweeted it, I want to say, at 9 o'clock last night, saying that Raptors forward Jonte Porter, for you NBA fans, for you non-NBA fans, dude is not a very good player. Only plays, I don't know, 5 minutes a game, I think? Let's look it up. I want to say it's 5 minutes a game. he's averaging so far this year. But yeah, it's a dude who in the 2024 season is averaging, he's averaging 4 points per game. P Basketball Reference is not giving me his minutes per game for some reason. Where is it? He's averaging 13 minutes a game at the moment. As of today, he's averaging 13 minutes a game, so it's not a whole lot. He's a bench player. You know, like I said, only averaging 4.5 points per game, not a lot of rebounds. Just not a very huge, impactful player for the Raptors this season. Now, it comes out that, I'm reading this article straight up. I have it pulled up right here, so, this Woj Palm. It comes out on January 26th that his props on that night were like, they were 5.5, yada yada, 4.5. Those were all his over-unders. And there was also a 3-pointer over-under. And that night, Jonte Porter plays like 4 or 5 minutes and gets out. And he's like, I don't feel well. They said he aggravated an eye injury, actually. Yeah. So, obviously, all the unders hit on his over-unders because he goes out of the game. Then, later... all right. Then, the next day after that, DraftKings comes out and said that the under on Jonte Porter's three-pointers was the biggest money winner for bettors out of all NBA point props that evening. Dude who only averages 4.5, a dude who's not very well known, his whole thing, boom. His was the biggest money earner that evening. Then again, on March 20th now, so this is now a couple months later, sat against the Kings, a similar thing happens. Jonte Porter has all these over-unders, he plays only 4 or 5 minutes, exits the game because the Raptors say he's sick. He does not come back into the game. His unders hit. The next day again, DraftKings come out and they report that Jonte Porter's prop bets were the number one money makers from that night. So now it looks fishy. Now it looks like people were talking to Jonte Porter, and Jonte Porter was talking to people about placing bets, which is what the NBA is currently investigating. There's no actual proof of anything. But I mean, man, this is real fishy. I was listening to some people talk about it today. ESPN talked about it this morning a lot. Pat McAfee show was talking about it. Obviously, Stephen A. Get Up, First Take, all of them were talking about this at some point today. It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. But I don't know. It's a risky situation. It's a situation that it's hard to question, especially with the eye injury. Because there's a quote in this article that they get from the Raptors head coach, where it's like, all right, it's hard to doubt an injury. If a player comes up to you and goes, bro, I can't, my eye is killing me. I can't see out my right eye. I got poked in it. I can't tell you, no, you can see. So that, what I get in the first game. The second one with illness, it gets weirder because it's not even like he was trying to hide it. He just went up to coach and he was like, Coach, I don't feel well. I feel like I'm about to yak. And the coach was like, all right. So I don't think the Raptors are involved, but it's a fishy situation here with Jonte Porter, especially with it coming out that those both times that this happens, it's the number one moneymaker. Some of these bets were like type of bets where you weren't even allowed to make like the normal DraftKings user can't place over $1,000 on these bets, but VIP users can, and those VIP users were betting like $8,000 on these unders. Like they knew something. So it's a fishy situation. Now, On the exact flip side of the situation, we have the Shohei Ohtani situation, which I'm sure many of you know of now at this point, what the Shohei Ohtani situation is. With Shohei, allegedly, Shohei's interpreter stole, I believe it was $4.5 million to make some bets. I believe the number was $4.5 million to make some bets. And now it's coming out with some investigations. People are getting fishy about whether Shohei was involved or not. This, that, what's going on. Yeah, you know what I mean? And Shohei has since come out with his new interpreter and denied all of the claims. He's come out and he said, I'm not sports betting. I would never do that. And now the Shohei situation, this one is a lot weirder in my opinion. He says he never bet on any sports, and he was completely shocked about what his manager was doing. I don't know. I mean, is there a chance Ohtani was involved? Yes. And now you're in a weird situation where you have the face of baseball is going to admit to betting on sports. Not baseball, but sports. It's possible through a bookie that he did this. It is. It's highly possible that this happened. I'm not saying it is. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough to really pick apart what Ohtani's saying, and I don't know enough about Ohtani to know, like, ooh, is he fishy like this? Does he have a history of betting in Japan or this and that? So it's a really interesting situation. I know the first thing a lot of people say is, well, it's $4.5 million. When you have as much money as Ohtani does, I could see, if you're not checking your bank account every day, how Ohtani could not notice $4.5 million. The average person is, yes, going to notice $4.5 million. Ohtani, who's making, I believe it's like $35 million a year right now, is not going to notice his signing bonus maybe going missing. Like, it's not, unless he's literally checking every day. So, I mean, I said this to my roommate right now. Right now, Ohtani's best friend is Jonte Porter, because it's going to take all the publicity, or not all, but a good handful of the publicity is going to shift of the betting publicity and the betting ridicule is going to shift to Jonte Porter and not stay on Ohtani. So that's going to help him, maybe help MLB sweep this under the rug, you know. But if it comes out that Ohtani was involved at all and he don't get no suspension or anything like that, now you get into the situation, the whole Pete Rose situation. Of Pete Rose, that was never proven. So, you know what I mean? It's the face of baseball right now. He's caught in a gambling scandal, and the number one scandal in the MLB Hall of Fame has to do with gambling. It's just full circle at this point. It'll be fun to see where this goes. I don't know. I really don't. It's an interesting, because it's really like it came out, it happened, and then it was just like, nope, no. Ohtani was like, no, I never bet before. I swear I never bet. Like, he was just like, I don't know, man. He was like, no, I swear. It's weird. It's weird. I really don't know enough. Because that's the things I would look into, especially if I'm the MLB, right? I'd look into, okay, is Ohtani, like, is sports betting even a thing in Japan? If it is Ohtani have a history of sports betting in Japan? Yada, yada. Like, you got to look into his past and really... They got to do a deep investigation on this whole thing. You can't just fire as an interpreter and say, oh, Ohtani claimed he didn't do it, so he didn't do it. You got to investigate him. I know it's hard to. He's, like I said multiple times, it's the face of baseball right now. So it's hard to be like, oh, I'm going to just. But you gotta. You can't. You can't not. It scares the integrity. It changes the integrity of the game completely. It has a complete impact on the integrity of the game and what it's going to be able to do. Baseball's weird. Baseball's weird. Opening days this weekend. Go Yankees. They play the Astros on Saturday. Hopefully they'll beat the Astros on Saturday. It'll be fun. Nestor's getting the start for you Yankees fans. They played their last little preseason game against that Mexico team yesterday. So, I'm hyped for Yankee season. I didn't really watch spring training all that much. But I've never been more hyped for baseball season than I am now. So, I'm probably going to watch this weekend. I'll probably watch Yankees baseball this weekend. Because why not? You know what I mean? Go to the bar or something. Get some drinks. Watch some Yankees baseball. Moving on sports, though. For the last 20 minutes, we're going to talk about... These past 2 days were huge days in the NFL. I'm not even going to talk about draft yet. I hope I do have some time at the end here to talk draft. But, I'm not even going to talk about that yet. What I really want to talk about is what has happened these past 2 days over the coaches, in the coaches' meeting. And the two biggest... Sorry, I just want to pull up the rules exactly. But a lot of big rules happened in the NFL. For those of you who don't know, who don't keep up with the NFL like I do, like an absolute junkie that I am, this Monday and Tuesday was the NFL owners meeting. The annual owners meetings. And what the annual owner meetings every year is a whole nice little vacation for the NFL and its owners and its coaches, where everyone meets up. It's a whole little shindig, kind of like the Combine, how it's a whole shindig. Everyone meets up, has fun in Orlando, and what the whole point of this is let's move the NFL into the future. Let's vote on our rules. Let's figure out what the future of the NFL and football is going to be. And this year is one of the most impactful This is interesting. But one of the most impactful NFL coaches meetings that I have ever witnessed in my entire life. It has changed the game of football completely. This is as big as a weekend as when the pass interferences rules were passed, or when, you know what I mean? All those big rules you remember over the past couple of years, the pass interference rules, the pass interference review rules, these overtime rules 2 years ago. This is bigger. A rule was passed today that will change the game of football forever, and I'll get into that. And a rule passed yesterday that a lot of people are 50-50 on. So the NFL's two biggest rules that passed over the past 2 days, as I scroll down here, getting the full list. Where is it? All right, here we go. The full list of rules. First rule that was approved that we're going to pass over and just talk. I'll talk about how each rule, in my opinion, affects football. The first one I don't hate. Now, if you get a successful challenge at all, instead of it being... So the former rule was 2 successful challenges, you get the ball, then you'll get a third one if you get both your challenges successful. Now you only need to be 1 of 2 to get that third challenge. I don't hate that. It doesn't change a lot, just adds an extra challenge to a lot of coaches. It gives you that extra chance to get a third challenge, to be able to win 2 challenges in a game. Instead of you having to be perfect, you know what I mean? Maybe you challenge something early and it doesn't work out. But you challenge something late and it works out, so you get another challenge and maybe challenge something late again. You never know. That I don't hate. To allow an enforcement of a major foul by the offense prior to change of possession in a situation where there are fouls by both teams. That one I don't completely get. Wording's weird on that one. So yeah, that one I can't completely explain to you guys. I wish I could. Wording's weird on that one. The next rule that was approved, the replay review is now allowed to see if the clock expired. The game clock expired specifically, not the play clock. But if the game clock hits 0, you could review that now to see if it actually clearly hit 0 before the snap was off and get the just end of the quarter. Which that could be interesting. That could actually come up huge towards the end of the game. So that one will be fun to see. Because a lot of teams have gotten extra snaps after it's clearly been 0. So there might be a win taken away this year by that rule. That one is a rule to definitely look out for. Now, here is the second biggest rule change in my opinion. The biggest rule change happened today. The second biggest rule change happened yesterday. And it's the ban of the hip drop tackle. Now, as I can't pull up the tape, obviously, because I'm not allowed to play NFL film on this stream. I really don't want to get copyright striked. I really want to avoid that. So I'm not allowed to play NFL film here on the stream. But if you do want to look at it, I believe Ian Rappaport tweeted out the video. I believe Tom Pelissero tweeted out the video. A good handful of analysts have tweeted out the video. So I recommend after you're done watching the stream, after the stream ends, go check out the tweets that show the clips that they showed the owners in the owner meeting for the definition of what a hip drop tackle is. Now, there was exact wording in the rule book that I'll try to pull up here from yesterday. I mean, Pelissero's tweeting a lot, so it might be hard to find the exact wording for... Okay. Is this what I'm looking for? This is what I'm looking for, just not the right... Alright, here. So, Rule 12, Section 2, Article 18. What is a hip drop tackle? This is the wording for what a hip drop tackle is in the NFL. It is a foul if the player uses the following technique to bring a runner to the ground. It has to be, both A and B have to be present for a ref to call this penalty, is what was told to owners and referees. But, A, grabs the runner with both hands or wraps the runner with both arms and unweights him, and then B, unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body and landing on and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. Now, the argument here for should this be legal or not, that I can see, the biggest argument is because everyone there's the whole argument, well, all right, now you're just making it flag football, and I see that. The argument is how much control over your body are professional athletes expected to have? Because what they are saying in this rule, to me, in my opinion, what it seems like, as someone who has played football only at the high school level. So at my level, not everyone can control their body that easily. When you're making this quote-unquote hip drop tackle, you're not purposely landing on his legs. You're trying to really twist him over and have him fall on top of you completely. Like in my opinion. So that's the argument you're having, is how much control do these players have when they have two arms around someone, right? And they drop to pull them down, right? Do they have enough control where they are twisting into these players, the back of these players' legs, which some NFL players have come out and argued that this is what's happening, is the hip drop is banned because you have enough control to not hit me in the back of my knee, have me land on my knees with you on my calves, and me tear my Achilles, me pop a knee, me break an ankle, etc. Players have come out and said that. I don't know. From my experience, it's hard to control your body in that situation, especially in full speed of football, to make that tackle. I've had a couple players come out. I've heard of a couple players come out and argue this and argue that back and forth of just whether it should be legal. I think it should be legal personally. I don't think it's a danger to the game. I think it's making it so much harder for the defenses to really do anything but push them out of bounds. Like, I understand we had a lot of injuries on that hip drop tackle, but 2 years ago, if I walked out here and was asking people what a hip drop tackle is, you're all going to tell me you wouldn't know. Like, we just put a name to this tackle and banned it within a year. I think it's a little unfair to the defensive side of the ball, especially full speed. When you're coming at a certain angle from behind a player, the player's coming in coming from the opposite direction, trying to turn upfield. You're coming towards him, so you guys are going in complete opposite directions. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I'm doing it on the stream so you can see it with my hands. Like the receiver's coming down like this, and he catches the ball here trying to turn it up. This player's coming up and across like this. You know what I mean? And trying to come down and make the tackle. So you end up with like a, you know what I mean? Like, and then they both, so like when you meet here, they're coming in complete opposite directions. That's where you get this hip drop tackle. So it makes making those types of plays just so much more difficult, in my opinion. So I don't know. The league favors offense. Everyone knows that. That is huge. Now this next rule that got approved today completely changes the game of football, in my opinion. And that is this kickoff rule. So let me get the exact wording up here. So I have the wording for the kickoff rule, and then I'll show you guys on the stream. I'll pull up the chart on the stream of what the new kickoff is going to look like. If you guys ever watched the XFL, that's kind of what it looks like. But I want to see if Pelissero has just the whole... Yeah, all right, here it is. Here's this whole new kickoff, right? And actually, you guys are not going to see me on the stream here. You guys will hear my voice. But let me go here, here, and here. So this is what the setup looks like for those of you on the stream that are looking at my Twitter right now. So that is what the setup is going to look like. You have the hybrid kickoff. You have where you're going to have the kicker cannot... All right, so the kicker... The ball is still kicked from the... the ball is still kicked from the 35-yard line. The safety kick. And then there's a safety kick from the 20-yard line. All other players but the kicker will line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line. And the kicker's on the 35. The kicker can't pass the 50-yard line. Right? So then the 10 players cannot move until the ball either hits the ground or a player in the landing zone, that green zone that you guys on the stream see there, unless it hits the ground or a player in the landing zone, or a player in the landing zone or the end zone. The receiving team will line up as follow. There's a setup zone that you guys see here on the stream. It's that yellow little zone. And in that setup zone, it's a 5-yard area from receiving team's 35 to 30, where at least 9 receiving team players must line up. At least 7 players must have their foot on the line. I know, this rule's getting crazy. 7 players must have their foot on the line. And the players not on the line must be in the setup zone outside the hash marks. All players in the setup zone cannot move until the kick has hit the ground or a player in the lane. So what they're trying to get rid of with this whole setup zone and kickoff start line is those run-ups where, like, you guys all see, you guys have, if you've played football, you know it. You guys have all seen it. It's those run-ups on the big kickoffs where you're back at that 35-yard line. You're back here. I'll use my mouse for those of you on the stream instead of my hands. But you're back, what they're trying to eliminate here is those dudes where you're the gunner, you're back here, you run up, kick the ball up, right? And you know what I mean? For an onside kick, it has to go 25, it has to go 15 yards, right? So you're kicking the ball here, an onside kick has to go here. So this is usually 15 yards is where the first line of the team was. So they're trying to eliminate that 15-yard run-up and hits. So they're putting them 5 yards apart and saying, once the ball's caught, boom, now we're blocking here, right? That's what this whole alignment thing is. You only get 2 returners as the returning team in the landing zone. Everyone else has to line up over in that setup zone, as you see, like, up here. You know what I mean? Like, as you guys see up here. You only get those 2 returners. Everyone else is here. You get the kicker back here. Everyone else is here, right? Then, the landing zone. The landing zone over here. In this green area for those of you on the stream. But the landing zone is the goal line to the 20-yard line for those of you listening on radio. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone is treated like a kick out of bounds, and you get the ball at the 40. So that's huge. If it doesn't hit the 20-yard line, you get the ball at the 40, and it'll be blown dead as soon as it lands. So you have to get the ball inside the 20-yard line. Any kick that hits the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or down. So if you guys go back to, like, obviously currently we all know ball bounces into the end zone under the last year's kickoff rules. The ball goes in the end zone, hits the end zone, touchback right away. But if you guys go back to the early 2000s, what you remember is if that ball sat in the end zone, it had to be downed. Like, you had to down it. So that rule's back. If the ball lands in the landing zone, not in the end zone first, if the ball bounces, let's say, at the 10-yard line, lands in the end zone, that ball has to be downed or returned by the receiving team. Any kick that lands in the end zone stays inbounds, has to be returned or downed also. So yeah, if the kick hits the end zone and stays out of bounds, it also has to be returned or down. Now, if it goes out of the back of the end zone, that's a touchback, but that touchback, those touchbacks are now going down. If the kick lands in the end zone at all, those touchbacks go to the 30-yard line. While if it bounces in the landing zone, I'm confusing so many people right here. If it lands in the landing zone, that one's going to go to the 20-yard line. No, there's no more fair catches on a kickoff. If conditions cause the ball to fall off the tee twice, the kicker will be allowed to use a kicking stick to keep the ball in place. Onside kicks. There are no more surprise onside kicks. When the fourth quarter begins, if the trailing team has an opportunity to do an onside kick and has to tell the officials if that happens. The current onside kickoff rules would apply. It's the same thing, old setup, yada yada. Penalties. The setup zone and landing zone will not change with any penalties that carry over to kickoffs. Alignment of 10 kickoff team players and all receiving team players would not change. Only the spot of the actual kick will move. Penalties on scoring plays will not carry over and will be taken on the try. Penalties on the try may carry over, and if they do, only the placement of the kicker will change. And then a safety kick. The kick will be from the 20-yard line, and the kicker will have the option to use a tee. The setup zone and landing zone will not change. So yeah. Let me get back to the stream here. So yeah. What do I think? I think they've completely changed the sport of football. I don't like it at all. I mean, I'm not going to... All right, I say I don't like it at all. I don't hate it. I don't despise it. But I don't like it. Like, why... I understand you're trying to... There's so many injuries on those run-ups, and, like, you want... They're also trying to get the return back in the game, is the big thing. They're trying to get the kick return back in the game. There's been no returns. We had our first Super Bowl ever without a single kickoff return. Every kick was a touchback. That's what they're trying to get into this game. This almost punishes touchbacks. It punishes booting it as far as you can. It now makes kicking more of an accuracy game, and I get that. It makes the kicking more skilled. I'm not opposed to any of that. It's just gonna it's gonna get a lot of time to get used to start there. Like I said, I don't love it. I don't think anything was super wrong with the kickoff. Personally, I think a big rule you could have done to change it being downed or returns or not was just that downed rule. But I get you wanting to get rid of the whole run-ups that I explained before, that 15-yard run-up hit that, everyone was getting into. You got rid of the wedges already and all that. So it was only a matter of time before this rule happened, even though I'm not in love with it. It's confusing. Don't get me wrong. It is confusing, and it's going to take some time to get used to. It's according to what I'm reading right now, too, the official writing, it's in a trial year, so they're going to try it this year, and then they'll actually approve it and see if they like it next year, whether it's going to stay or not. So it'll be an interesting year of football, especially if it doesn't get approved, just remembering, oh, you remember that one year they tried the kickoff? That'll be fun to do, but here we are, just sitting. It's sitting pretty now, you know what I mean? And what I mean by sitting pretty is it's an interesting rule. It's a confusing rule. It's a new rule. That whole landing zone, setup zone thing is going to be, it's going to take time to get used to. For those of you who have played football before, it's practicing kickoff returns. It's when you used to do in special teams, when you guys were trying to practice returns, and it was set up it's a drill already. It won't take a lot for the players to get used to. It's more of an adjustment for us, the fans. But nonetheless, really big rule changes. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm really not. It's very interesting, but it's approved. I can't do anything to change it. So, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we're in for more fun plays. That's one thing. It's gonna bring a lot more returns, which will be a lot of fun. Hopefully, we could get, more kickoff returns, which everyone loves kickoff returns. You look at players like Devin Hester, who, no offense to Devin Hester, Devin Hester's not in the Hall of Fame for his production as a wide receiver. You know what I mean? Adam Jones, another dude who was just an absolute tank of a receiver. So, he was a solid corner, but he wasn't, he wasn't the best corner in the league. But there was a point in time where he was the second best return man behind Devin Hester. And it was, don't kick him the ball. Players like Percy Harvin, players like Jacoby Jones. I know everyone remembers that 110-yard kickoff return in the Super Bowl. There are players that make names out of making plays like that, and I hope those players can come back into the game with this type of setup. But, man, it's going to take some time to get used to. It really will. It's going to take a lot of time to get used to. But, I mean, that's it. That's all I got for you all today, really. A lot of big things in that coaches meeting. It's really interesting. March is underway. Sweet 16 gets underway. I believe the first game is Friday for the Sweet 16. MLB opening day. I know it technically started with that whole Korea game, but I believe is either, I want to say Thursday is the first MLB game this week. So, yeah, I'd say Thursday is the first MLB game this week. We got that. Obviously, a whole Ohtani thing. NFL shaking up. Draft season's coming. The draft is very soon. Apparently, J.J. McCarthy is all of a sudden a top 5 pick. That baffles me. Actually, let me get into that. I don't know where this came from. J.J. McCarthy, no offense, man. Congratulations, you managed, you're... I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy isn't going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. But if he's going to be, he should be a fourth-round pick that's a good quarterback in the NFL. J.J. McCarthy does not have the skills to start day one in the NFL. I'm sorry. He's a Kirk Cousins. He's not someone who's going to come out and start day one. Minnesota, Washington, please do not make the mistake of drafting J.J. McCarthy, especially Washington at 2. Draft Jake May. Draft Jalen Daniels. Minnesota trying to trade up to 3 to draft him. Don't do it. New England, you just did it with Mac Jones. Don't do it. Don't fall for it, please. J.J. McCarthy, don't fall for it, in my opinion. Minnesota, you can get him at 11. If you want him that bad, you can get him at 11. Don't make the mistake, people. It's the next Mac Jones. I'm telling you, if he's a first-round pick, it's Mac Jones all over again. He needs to learn. He has the skill set. He has the mental capabilities. I agree with that. I agree with the scouts see in the mental capability of J.J. McCarthy. But as of the moment, he can't throw the ball more than 30 yards downfield accurately. He's Zach Wilson. He's Mac Jones. I don't know if you guys saw the throw that went viral this week of him when he rolled out to the left for those of you on stream, rolled out to the left and threw it. And then I saw a comment and it goes, "That's the throw that ruined the Jets franchise," and it literally is. A rollout to the right. It was a rollout to the right, the Zach Wilson throw that I'm thinking of. But it was a rollout to the right off his back foot, deep throw that was a dot. That everyone was like, oh my God, this Zach Wilson kid's amazing. Bro, don't do it. J.J. McCarthy needs to go to a team where he can sit and learn. That's where he needs to be. He cannot start day one. Don't make the mistake. But yeah, draft season's coming up. UFC 3, like I said, UFC 300, April 13th. For you wrestling fans, we got WrestleMania coming out. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes in WrestleMania. That should be fun. On Peacock. The Rock is back too. For those of you who watch professional wrestling, that's always fun. But nonetheless, a weird time in sports. But baseball's coming. Baseball regular season, like I said, starts this weekend. We got baseball starting this weekend. Basketball is getting down to the thick of it. It's March. That season's coming to an end. That's really getting down to the thick of it. Same thing with hockey. Hockey's getting down to the thick of it. Once those playoffs start, I'm going to act like the biggest hockey fan in the world. I'm going to act like I know what the hell I'm talking about and do all this research to know what I'm talking about. So that'll be fun. But yeah, that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you all for tuning into the live stream. Thank you all for listening here on WSJU Radio. I will be back latest next Tuesday. Actually, no. I will be back next Tuesday because even though I did want to do 2 this week, it might only be a stream if I do another one this week, a special stream from Jersey if I do another one this week. So those of you on the YouTube, check in for that. Those of you on the radio, I will see all of you. I'll see all of you next Tuesday. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'm Logan. This is The Log Show. Peace out.